Hello and welcome to the first ever episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I would like to go ahead and thank you ahead of time for letting us fuck your ear pussies. I am your host, Michael Mayhew, and I'm here with my co-hosts.
Nick from youtube.com/the Tic Tac Man and our designated butt pirate over here.
Nick's a bitch. What's up, everybody? I'm Dale.
And hi, I'm Greg Holmes.
Greg's his first name and his last name for some reason. Why, I do not know. If you have not guessed at this point in time, this show is going to be very explicit. So it's vulgar. It's not safe for work unless you got your headphones in. So the first topic we're going to cover tonight is The Walking Dead. Dale, you were very, very persistent about us covering this topic. Why?
Yeah, I was. But only because of the fact that, for one, it's like the most amazing show in America today. Only because of the fact that everybody wants the apocalypse to happen, as do I. But also the fact that just last episode before season 3, well, the middle of season 3 ended, it really grabs you and you just really want to know what's happened or what's going to happen.
I think the mid...
And also the fact that it's more about just fighting zombies. It's about fighting, to stay alive, and also just other people that are just, want to be the alpha dog out there and just want to protect their own group.
My thing is, I think the season 3 mid-season finale was very subpar. Very, very, very subpar. Season 2 mid-season finale ended, with what's the girl's name? The little girl's name. That was the little...
Sophia.
Sophia. Okay, It ended with Rick shooting Sophia. Okay, so you were like, what the fuck? And the season 3 mid-season finale. Let's not spoil it. If somebody hasn't seen it by this point, then they probably don't even watch the show. But I just thought it was very subpar. And also between the break between the first half of the second half of the season, that's going to be starting on February 10th, which by the time this airs, it's probably already shown. But between the first and second half of the third season, I started actually legitimately reading the comic. And I read Compendium 1, and the huge differences between the TV show and the comic are pretty dramatic. I would say the first season actually of the show is close to the comic, and then after that they just touch on key points. And
I remember you telling me about that and how each character was different from the TV show to the comic character. And I have not read the comic, so I really have no idea what you're talking about when you talk about the comic. So, should I? Probably. Just to see how it is and see how, like what you're talking about, how they relate and then just kind of grow apart from each other. And then I would have a better understanding. But so,
Are you asking us whether you should read or not, or I don't really get the question.
He doesn't intend on reading it, is what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks for clarifying that, Nick.
Well, technically, I really wasn't asking a question. I was just telling him that I did not read the comic, and I was kind of like, I pretty much asked that question to myself, like, should I? I don't know. I mean, unless you guys have any advice, please tell me. I know Michael told me to read it.
Yeah, I think you should read it.
It is a really good comic. It's one of the best comic books I've ever read. I mean, before the show even aired, I was like, when I heard they were doing a TV show out of it, I was super hyped because when I first read it, I was like, this would be a really great movie. But then I thought about it and I was like, they couldn't condense all this into a movie. This is just way too long, and there's just way too much shit they would have to cut out in order to make it into a movie. And then I thought maybe they could make it into a TV show. But then I thought, nah, zombies too bloody. They would never make a TV show out of like zombie related stuff on American television, and that'll never happen. And then they're like, hey, we're making a TV show after this, and we're putting it on AMC. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I wonder how they're going to do that. And then I watched, like I said, I only saw the first 3 episodes, but I watched them and I was like, huh, they actually did a good job on this. I have hope. So, I mean, that's my take on it.
It was impressively gory for TV. I
Hmm.
think honestly, right now, do TV shows on TV. Well, actually, I'm going to say three. The best three TV shows on TV right now is The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, and Sons of Anarchy.
I knew you were gonna say wasn't entirely sure or like about the third one, but I knew you were gonna say The Walking Dead and Sons of Anarchy. I knew you were gonna say those two.
Break.
Yeah, I figured. I knew you were going to say Sons of Anarchy because you've talked about that more than you have talked about The Walking Dead.
Well, the Sons of Anarchy's been on a hell of a lot longer than what The Walking Dead has.
It's into its like sixth season in it.
They just finished their fifth season. They should be coming back in August with their sixth season.
That I
And
mean, Sons of Anarchy also has Ron Perlman in it, and that guy's like one of the coolest dudes ever.
he plays a cocksucker in the fucking show, though. Can't stand his character in the show.
Because I've always liked Ron Perlman, but I don't know if you guys heard about this, but like last year, like in the summer or something, I read a story where like there's this kid like who who like I don't remember how old he was. He was like 8 or 10, and he like had terminal cancer. So he was like in the Make a Wish Foundation thing. So his wish was to meet Hellboy. So
I read
Ron
that.
Perlman actually goes and meets this kid dressed up as Hellboy from the movies, and he even brings in like a bunch of catering people, so they like have like this huge fucking meal for like the kid family, and he even gets like the two people who did his makeup in the movie to like make the kid up like Hellboy too. I mean, like I read it and I was like, oh my god, like I've always loved him before, but this just makes him like so much more awesome in my eyes.
You read this and you're like, oh my God, how do I get cancer?
Click. I need 30 packs of cigarettes right now.
Okay, Greg, if you want help getting cancer, I would advise snorting, shit that they put in, fucking old buildings and
Oh,
Asbestos.
asbestos.
asbestos?
Yeah, asbestos. Go ahead and snort that. Go down to the store and buy like a couple cartons of cigarettes and see how many you can smoke in a row without letting them go out. Just one off the end of the other one and just keep smoking. You'll puke a couple times, it'll subside, when you have the cancer, the puking will go away. And then it'll come back when you're dealing with the cancer, the chemo and everything of that nature. But the key
I mean, I would really love to meet Ron Perlman, but I don't think I'd want to kill myself to like be able to like meet him. I don't think I'm that much of a fan of him.
No, 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 no. Nobody said anything about killing themselves. We were just talking about you getting terminal cancer.
You meet
But
Ron
that
Perlman.
will
That's a
kill
that's
me.
that's a that's a one-time thing, but cancer kind of stays there. That doesn't go away.
Speaking of cancer, it's like an STD. Nick, what's your take on that?
Well, considering I have so many of them, I go to Billy Joel like once or twice with the AIDS.
Well, and I've spoke about this before. I think that AIDS or anything has a cure, but the cure for AIDS is money. It's that simple. Listen, Magic Johnson has had AIDS, fucking like full blown AIDS for how many years, and that
Like
motherfucker just looks just fine. I mean,
20 some odd years.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like most people, like if Nick came down with a case of AIDS, he would die probably within like 6 months. Even though he's got that oil money, he would die in like 6 months. Magic Johnson, on the other hand, has like you
The
know
mad oil money can't cover the money that health insurance would for the meds I need.
exactly. But Magic Johnson, that motherfucker will have cancer for 70 years. Cancer, yeah.
They're
Apparently,
like, you need 13 grand a week for your meds, and he'd be like, Psh.
he's gonna have cancer. Apparently, his AIDS are gonna turn into cancer. So I don't know how we got from The
The
Walking
Walking
Dead
Dead to
to AIDS.
Magic Johnson with AIDS.
To touch on your top three there. How you gonna feel after this summer? Last season, Breaking Bad.
I've seen the first 3 episodes of Breaking Bad, and that's it.
You didn't watch any more than that? How did you not watch any more than
That
that?
that that's physically impossible.
Well, it just happened. How about them apples?
Well, you could ask the same thing of me. Like, how come you did not watch more than the first 3 episodes of The Walking Dead? And I'd respond to you, well, I forgot it was on during the first season, and
That physically possible.
I'm just retarded, I guess. I don't know. I got brain problems. What do you expect from me?
That's mentally impossible.
My point is, I got addicted to Breaking Bad quicker than I did The Walking Dead. Let's go ahead and take a brief pause here to blow Ryan up. What did you say to him?
Are you gonna Skype? My balls are cold.
I just asked where the hell he is. He's probably gonna say California.
If you know Ryan, there's one main thing you know about Ryan. But I want you to go into this little bit of conversation that Ryan and I had without actually giving you any background information. So just pay close attention at the beginning of this. Let's go ahead and play that clip.
I just got my package today. Thanks for the fucking pornos. I don't have a VHS though. There's a DVD in there. You got a DVD player, don't you? I mean, I figured you would enjoy everything that I put in the bag. Yeah, I do. Definitely do. The beer cooler for sure, and the T-shirts and the Crown Royal bag. Porno's a plus. Yeah, I saw the DVD. Yeah, I do have a DVD player. I figured you loved it. All the stuff made me think of you, so I figured, hell. Hell now, goddamn it, down there. I'll tell you what, boy, I figured you love all that shit in that son of a bitch. That's why I done there and he sent it to you. He done jumped out the window. I unintentionally developed that accent, so I figured I would just finish it out that way. Oh, goddamn, I tell you what, boy, that shit's amazing. Makes my cock throb. Your southern accent turned into Mr. Ed. I felt like I was watching a fucking horse there while you were talking. Oh, goddamn.
I'll tell you one thing that I did realize this past sports season, basically for every sport and the current season, at least for me, being with baseball, I'm a Pirates fan. With hockey, I'm a Pens fan. With football, I'm a Steelers fan. With basketball, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. Why a Chicago Bulls fan? Because I fucking grew up with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. I mean, fucking Dennis Rodman and shit. But one thing I really did realize with baseball this season was the Pirates have sucked so much ass for so many years. And this season they had like this streak where they were just doing fantastic. They were doing great, and I was like, holy shit, the fucking Pirates are relevant. They actually stand a chance to go to the fucking playoffs. Like, I cannot remember the last time this happened. And I'm sitting there shitting my fucking pants. I'm so excited that, they're actually doing good. Of course, at the end of the season, they shit the bed and they missed the fucking playoffs. I don't even know who won the World Series. Dale, who won the World Series?
Giants.
Okay, the Giants won.
San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, San Francisco Giants won the World Series. One of the most annoying things to me is the longer series. I think, like your wild card round or whatever should be the best of 3, and then the best of 5, and then the best of 7. Who wants to sit and watch a fucking best of 7 series?
Not me.
Each time, like, and it's annoying. And like you got the NFL to where like you're one and done. You know what I mean? Like it's not.
It's a contact sport though.
Well, I get that. I understand that, but like I just it shouldn't be the best of 7 each round of the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like your wild card round should be like a best of 3. And and then your division round or whatever, best of 5, and then and maybe another best of 5 for your conference round, and then your finals are the best of 7 or something like that. It shouldn't be best of 7, best of 7, best of 7 or whatever. And
yeah, I agree because like when I seen the Braves when they lost to the Cards for that wild card route, I was like, all right, we got at least another shot, maybe 2 more. And then it's just like, then I seen like a picture of, like Chipper Jones, walking out and it says, "Thank you for everything," and I'm just like, what are you talking about? He ain't retired yet. Still got 2 more games. And then like I started reading, I was just like, damn it, I didn't know that was a one-time thing.
The NBA is the same way, which drives me nuts. And another one that's the same way is the NHL. And after the lockout, how do you feel about how the season's going to turn out, Nick, in the NHL?
Just for the fact that I was like completely starved of hockey to the point in which I was going to Wheeling Nailers games. And I've seen Wheeling Nailers games, but it's a slight step above a high school. That's pretty much what it was. And whenever I saw that first game of the season, it was like, it's what I can imagine an old man at the age of 70 who hasn't had an erection in 30 years just popping one. That joy, that sense of joy. As far as the season's going to turn out, having a condensed season really limits your ice time, which limits your overall. I'm trying to think of how to word it here. Overall, the coherentness of your team, because the way to get that on ice experience is to play a game. And with a condensed season, I think we'd see some teams that wouldn't get into the playoffs be getting into the playoffs.
I don't feel like I'm watching a legitimate NHL season.
I think in regards to where the season would be right now on a normal season, I can completely agree with you. But since it is a shortened season, I'm giving it time, and the hockey is getting better. It is getting really good. The last 2 games the Pens played, excluding the one with the Devils this morning, was spectacular.
The fucking NFL this season was pretty, awful overall. Just all around, to be completely honest. I was so hoping to see a Houston Texans, Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see 2 teams in there, one that's never been and one that hasn't been since, like, what, 7 years ago. The way NBA ended last season, Bulls fan, I'm thinking, we got Derrick Rose. They're going to the finals. The Bulls were going to the finals. I don't think the Heat could have beat the Bulls had Derrick Rose been at his, had he been playing, period. I don't think the Heat would have beat the Bulls in, the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think that would have happened. I think the Bulls would have took it to the finals, and I think they would have also beat the Thunder. And then the college football season as well. Championship game was a fucking joke. I didn't even watch all of it. I just fucking turned it. It wasn't even worth watching.
No, same here.
Sports last year, overall, with like all of your main things, were just your main types. What was just disappointing. I think. I think this was very subpar. And I'm sure that the only people that are going to be like, "You're totally fucking wrong," is going to be like, Alabama fans, Ravens fans.
Yeah, the ones who actually won the
Giants
championship.
Exactly. I didn't even talk about soccer because no one cares about soccer in America.
That's what I said. I don't care.
The MLS, I couldn't even tell you a team. The Galaxy, I think, is a team in the MLS. I think the big problem with that is, at least I don't see it. I never see it on TV. I don't know. Sports overall was just disappointing. I mean, most people look at me and they're like, he knows what a sport is. They're like, jerking off in the basement of pictures of Sailor Moon's not a sport. If it was, Nick would hold the record.
Champion.
5 years.
5 years.
5 years fapping.
I mean, all the sports, like I said, have been disappointed. I think I've beat that part of it into the ground. And the only thing that I would say is worse is the fact that the video game industry just takes advantage of the sports more or less. They shit out a new game every year where it's barely even different from the previous year's game. I quit playing Madden years ago because they dropped too many shitty ones in a row, and like a fucking dumbass, of course, I bought it. I'm like, oh, this game will be better than the last one. That sounds strangely familiar. Like Black Ops 2. I'm like, oh, Black Ops 2 will be better than Black Ops 1 because Black Ops 1 is the worst Call of Duty game ever made.
I
Wrong.
didn't fall into that trap.
See, I wish I didn't. Wouldn't have fallen.
I think everybody fell into that trap.
What do you think the best console controller of all time is?
I got one. There are now. I've been playing video games for years. I mean, I think everyone here has. There's with the first video game, well, the first console video games that I ever played were on the Super Nintendo.
Which, in my opinion, has the best controller.
To me, when it really comes down to comfort and like how well the button placements and how well it fits in your hands, I would say the S is one of the few controllers that to the still stands as one of the best game controllers I have ever held in my hands. Like the only other controller that I think can really come close to that would be either any of the PlayStation controllers, and
I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out here. The PlayStation 1, 2, or 3, because they're all similar, I think is the best controller of all time.
well, I mean, it's hard for me to pick because I mean, I grew up playing on the Super Nintendo a lot. I didn't really get into the PlayStation thing until years later, but I mean, like it's so hard to pick between those two.
My biggest thing of why I believe that the PlayStation has the best controller, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, whichever way you want to look at it, is that its shape. It's shaped to perfectly fit your hands. It's not like the original controller to where it's a square. Not that I'm knocking on that, because that takes me way back to my childhood. It's not like the, Dreamcast controller to where the fucking cord comes out of the bottom for some reason and makes it slightly awkward. And then you got the Xbox 360 controller, I think is way too big. And the PlayStation controller is just it's shaped to fit in your hands perfectly. And if you're a kind of person, especially if you're somebody that plays RPGs, you're sitting there gaming for hours upon hours upon hours, and just fits in your hands. It's like an extension of your body. It just fits perfectly in your hands, and it's not even that heavy. Like the PlayStation controller, PlayStation 2 controller was a little bit heavy, but the PlayStation 3, the original release of the PlayStation 3 controllers were fucking trash. But when they made the DualShock 3 or whatever, I think they got it. The weight's good, everything. They fixed the original issues with the buttons and whatnot that the original release of the PS3 controllers had. So I would say like the DualShock 3 or whatever, I believe the best one of the PlayStation, and I would say probably the best one overall.
I will agree with you that the PlayStation 3 controller is very well suited for RPGs because I for 7 years played an MMORPG on a PlayStation 2 controller and a PlayStation 1 controller. And normally, whenever I get a Final Fantasy, I'm getting it for a Sony console. The Xbox 360 controller isn't as big in hand as it looks. It isn't at all. Well, it weighs about the same.
As
I've never actually weighed the
PS3.
two of them. I'd have to weigh
They're
because I
quite
have.
they're quite comparable. And if I have to relate this back to something, FPS on 360 all the time, it's either that or I'm doing it on my PC. The way it holds in my hand is a lot better for FPS. The triggers are actually functioning as my triggers. That adds something to it.
See, I've played like FPSs on both the 360 and the PS3, and to me, I think they both. I mean, I've never had any trouble with either of them.
So Nick, if you had to pick one overall of all time of every console in existence, what do you think's the best controller? Not just don't break it down. Like
I'd have to say the Super Nintendo.
Okay, why would you say the Super Nintendo is the best one?
Well, the Super Nintendo, it's more simplistic.
Mm-hmm.
It layout just very simplistic. It's right there. It's got the ergonomic curve to it. It fits right in your hand. I mean, all you do is use 4 fucking fingers to have to control the entire thing.
Now, I want to take into consideration the Sega Genesis. Basically, if you look at the Sega Genesis controller, it's almost exactly like the Super Nintendo controller, except for it's a little bit bigger. But I think it was a very good controller as well.
I will say, yeah, the Genesis controller was really good. Problem is that I didn't really get enough hands-on experience with it growing up. One thing that I will say against the Sega Genesis is, for me, when I was younger and I had smaller hands, the Genesis controller was harder for me to play with than the Super Nintendo controller, which was smaller and fit into my hands much easier. So I always felt more comfortable with the Super Nintendo controller than I did with the Sega Genesis controller. But I mean, if now that I'm older and my hands are much bigger, like if I went back and played it, I probably wouldn't notice a difference.
Dale, why don't you weigh in here? What do you think the best console controller of all time is?
Can't go wrong with just the original Nintendo controller. For some reason, It's so iconic though, because like I don't know, like I just see it everywhere, and like I see it on T-shirts and everything like that, and it brings back so many memories, like childhood memories, playing Nintendo or just Super Mario or Mario Brothers and all that stuff on it. And I remember playing like the very first Link when it came out, Zelda, whatever it was,
Zelda, yeah.
and it was just that got me hooked on Zelda ever since then, and fitting it in my hand, it's just like I'm like, oh my god. I'm 3 again. It's awesome, I mean, my second best would be, the PlayStation controllers. And, I agree with you, the Xbox is too damn big.
hmm
The GameCube is just confusing.
and Nick, if you could take a second and put the gun down. Don't do it, man. There's no need. No, anyways. Okay.
Wait, can I have your stuff?
All this talk about the good old days. I can't.
Okay, but
Very
anyways,
abusive childhood.
since we covered
Why, Papa? Why? Why, Papa? Why?
his Uncle Steve, his Uncle Steve.
Oh, the
That's
uncles.
why my alternate persona is called Steve.
So we covered the best controller of all time, and what do you think, real quick, is the worst console controller of all time, and why?
GameCube.
You don't like the GameCube controller. Why don't you like the GameCube controller?
I do not like the GameCube. I just cannot get used to how the design is. It just does not fit in these tiny hands of mine. And like where everything's at, I get so the fucking A, B, Y is. And you got like the two extra little, I don't know, extensions of the controllers by your thumbs for like the thumbstick and everything. I like the N64 a hell of a lot better than the GameCube.
I have to argue in the opposite direction. I think the GameCube is a much more stellar controller than what the N64 ever could have dreamed of being.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I don't know,
N64
it
basically
doesn't-
the N64 requires three hands to play it. I mean, you had
There's a reason
like
there's 3 grips on it.
yeah, it's like there's like okay, I got the control stick. I'm controlling the control stick and the Z trigger with this hand, and I got the other hand with the A and B buttons, and then it's like, wait a minute, I gotta hit the left trigger and the control pad, and I only have 2 hands. What the fuck?
Oh, you're saying you think the worst console controller of all time is the GameCube.
Correct.
Okay, now Nick and Greg, were you saying that you think that the N64 had the worst controller of all time?
Yes.
I'm sitting here right now with it in my hands. It's pretty bad. It has hindering ergonomics.
The Dreamcast controller was really bad. You know,
I
honestly,
never had a problem with the Dreamcast controller. I was always perfectly fine with it.
I have trouble between the Dreamcast and the Xbox 60 having the worst controller of all time. I do not like the Xbox 360 controller. Even though you looked up the exact weight, you can tell that it's heavier, even though it's slightly heavier. I don't like where the analog sticks are located. I don't, and most, I just,
Well, the weights I looked up, it actually placed the battery powered one, even with a stack of batteries in it, at a lighter weight.
I don't, I think it's heavier. It's bulky. It's shaped fucking weird. I don't like the placement of the sticks. I have to hold the controller like weird. I don't like the way that you have to hold the controller, and that's my biggest complaint about it. Then actually, I think Nick, I think you should do it. Well, what, Dale? You disagreeing with me?
No, I have to pee really quick. So I was waiting for you to like pause, but you kept talking. I'm like, motherfucker. And you did the whole thing of not interrupting.
Yeah.
So that's why I waited, and
Well,
I really have
do
to
it.
go. So I'm gonna go pee real quick, and I'll be right back. But I'm still not gonna say anything. You guys can.
Did he not realize that sighing really loud was the equivalent to interrupting?
Shut up. I'm still here.
I figured you were. That's why I started talking shit. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I am your host, Michael Mayhew. I've been here with my co-hosts.
Nick from YouTube.com/the Tic Tac Man.
Dale. Along with.
Greg Holmes.
Greg likes to use his full name. Leave a comment and join the conversation with us. And always a thumbs up. The subscription really helps. All right. Thank you guys. Later.